Colonial legal institutions. The colonial legal institutions were the colonial organizations that dealt with legal issues. It had the duty of advising the colonial government, receiving people's claims, educating the society and guiding on the procedures to be followed, and providing legal aid. It included the legislative councils of elders, the prisons and the courts. They adapted the colonial administrative system such as the councils of elders which were common in British colonies. The legal systems during the colonial period in many African colonies were led by European judges and magistrates. It sued and sentenced those who were not effecting the oppressive colonial laws. The nature of punishment administered in the colonial judicial system ranged from fines, caning, imprisonment and execution. The colonial judiciary system was governed by the help of the Criminal Investigation Department. This department performed the task of investigating all criminal reports. B. The motorized companies. Those performed the task of suppressing strikes formed by trade unionists. The motorized companies were established in 1947. C. The militia. These took charge of collecting taxes and arrested Africans who failed to pay tax or evaded paying taxes. The major duties of the legal institutions. The major duties of the legal institutions were vast. Some of them were to amend laws, acts and ordinances as they were amended time after time in order to suit the colonial situation. Legal institutions had to do so to ensure that Africans performed various colonial activities. Among the laws and ordinances made were the Crown Land Ordinance of 1915 in Kenya. This offered white settlers the right to own the Kenya Highlands for a 99 years lease. Another instance was that of Masters and Servants Ordinance of 1924 which was established in Tanganyika. The handling of various claims of the people was done through councils of elders and the Legislative Council, LEGCO. The councils of elders dealt with African cases while the LEGCO handled both African and European claims. Other colonial defense organs. These were the police and the prison. They were new institutions in the eyes of Africans since they had their traditional ways of maintaining peace and order. The police force. The colonial police force was created in order to ensure that Africans maintained peace and order in the colonies. In addition, it made sure that Africans fulfilled colonial needs of paying taxes, producing raw materials, such as cash crops production in the colonial plantations and performing public works such as building railways and roads when required by the colonial government. The other role of the police was to suppress some unacceptable African practices. In the eyes of Europeans such as human sacrifices, slavery and burying of the dead bodies. Police caught African people who committed crimes and brought them before the court of law for European justice to take its course. In Tanganyika, the first police force was initiated in 1919, under the command of Dutch officers from South Africa. The prison. The prison was created in the African colonies in order to discipline and guard African prisoners who were convicted and sentenced by the colonial judicial system. Many of the African prisoners during the colonial rule were those who failed to pay the prison taxes or resisted to work in the colonial plantations and public services. The impact of the colonial military and legal systems on Africans. The two colonial systems undermined the traditional defense and legal system that prevailed during the pre-colonial period. As a result, Africans were not willing to offer any information related to crime to the colonial government. Also, all Africans who were employed in the defense forces of the colonial government were considered to be traitors by their fellow Africans. This is due to the harshness and brutality of the colonial army and other defense forces against their subjects. Finally, Africans refused to offer their services in caring for the public property such as government buildings, equipment and vehicles because they regarded them to be properties of the colony and not theirs. Activity 2.3. Compose a song that explains the role of our current police force or army in Tanzania.